Live happy and healthy, my brother. Live happy and healthy, my sister.
Good day and welcome to this edition of Healthier, Older and Happier. Since the last edition, I've been challenged by a lot of my colleagues who have been asking me to take a bit of my own medicine, because a lot of people who know me know that I work hard and I'm one of those who are chronically indebted to sleep. The good thing is that we are learning and we are changing. In this edition, we are going to be looking at ways to defray or reduce our indebtedness to sleep. We'll also be looking at some myths about sleep and other aspects of sleep, such as snoring. It's easy to say I'm an adult. I don't need to sleep for 7 to 9 hours every night. If you have watched the previous episodes, you would recall that we talked about the robustness of evidence on the importance of adults getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Adolescents need 8 to 10 hours of sleep, while children need 9 to 12 hours of sleep to be able to function optimally during the day. It's also easy to say, I can sacrifice sleep because of the pressing deadlines, highly urgent, highly important things that I have to do during the week, and pay my debt of sleep by sleeping more during the weekends. It is good to be able to sleep more during the weekends, but sleep experts say that to be able to recover from 1 hour of sleep deprivation, you need to have a full night of quality sleep. Put simply, that means for every 1 hour of sleep that you deny yourself, you need a make-up time of another 7 to 9 hours. And this is not going to be possible, neither is it going to be useful to you or anyone else, because if we then choose to sleep too long over the weekend, we are going to disrupt that biological clock in the brain, which is a group of cells that is responsible for producing melatonin that enables you to have a good night's sleep. If we end up spending the whole weekend sleeping, then we disrupt the biological clock, and by Monday morning, we are not going to be as fresh and ready to face the week ahead as we should. Another group of persons may say, well, I could just lie in bed quietly and close my eyes and get the same benefits as anyone who is sleeping would. The truth is, if you are not sleeping, your brain is not going to be working the way it should for you to reboot and be fresh for the new day. So you actually need to be sleeping, not lying down quietly with your eyes shut, to get the benefits of sleep. Some other people say, what does 1 hour of sleep matter if I am not able to get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep? It does matter, not only because it builds up over time, but because in the acute phase, that is immediately after you don't get enough sleep, the way your body does not function tells you that you have lost something, and it is that thing that you shouldn't be doing again and again. In at least 2 previous episodes, we've talked about the acute effects of lack of sleep: irritability, poor concentration, poor reflexes, and a tendency to have accidents. Not to talk about how not having 1 hour of sleep, 2 hours of sleep every day builds up over time and over years to increase the risk for chronic diseases. We need to have adequate sleep for the body of young children to grow well, for the mind, mood, memory, muscle function, immunity, fertility to be what they should be. Another myth is, I certainly cannot have sleep problems because I can sleep anywhere, anytime. This may sound good, but it may actually be the symptom of chronic deprivation of sleep. And what may actually be going on is that anywhere, anytime, your body takes the opportunity to make up for the huge indebtedness that you have incurred as a result of sleep deprivation. Number 6, I can make up for all my chronic lack of sleep by taking frequent naps during the day. The evidence is that naps are good if taken appropriately. So, appropriate napping is sleeping during the day for not more than 20 minutes and not more than twice during the day, and certainly not after 3 p.m. because, as we said in last week's episode, taking naps after 3 p.m. is actually setting yourself not to be able to sleep well at night. So, you are not going to be able to make up for chronic lack of sleep by taking frequent naps during the day, because if you find that you are taking more than 2 naps during the day, whether planned for or unplanned for, it's actually an indication of a sleep disorder and you need to see an expert. Another false belief is that I can sleep at any time of the day and still get the benefits of people who sleep 7 to 9 hours at night time. Last week we talked about some of the evidence about nighttime workers. For example, we particularly mentioned the effects on miscarriages for female folk who work at night time, who do shift duties. So the body of evidence is that people who work at night time and sleep during the day, sleep for shorter periods, no matter how long, how much they try, have poorer quality of sleep and overall poorer health outcomes, with increased risk of diabetes, depression, and breast cancer. So, sleeping at any other time other than the night time is not going to make up for the chronic sleep indebtedness. Number 8, I will take a nightcap. That is, I'll take some alcohol before I go to bed, and that will improve my sleep. The evidence is that taking some alcohol before going to bed can reduce sleep latency. However, by sleep latency, what I mean is the time that it takes between when you go to lie down and when you eventually fall asleep. But apart from that, every other effect of taking alcohol before going to bed is negative. It delays the onset of restorative sleep. It disturbs the other half of sleep, which is very important for your overall well-being. And very importantly, for people who have breathing difficulties associated with sleep, which is what we call sleep apnea, taking alcohol before going to bed actually worsens breathing difficulties. Number 9, watching television in bed will help me relax before I go to sleep. Perhaps this is your routine, but you may want to think about it again against the background of several reports, such as one by Basner and his colleagues, which was reported in the Sleep Journal in 2014. They demonstrated that people who watch TV in this manner sleep for shorter duration than those who do not. And it seems like a no-brainer, because if you are in bed watching TV late into the night, you are definitely not going to sleep as well as someone who went into bed and did not watch TV. So against the background of all the negative health effects of chronic lack of sleep, if watching TV in bed or using your phones or other devices is your habit as part of your sleep routine, then you may need to reconsider and remove all these distractions so that you can get better sleep. Number 10, children who do not sleep well at night will be drowsy during the day. Unfortunately, this is not true. Children who do not get enough sleep at night may actually be hyperactive during the day. Instead of being drowsy, they may be irritable and have difficulty concentrating. And if you are not watching their sleep numbers, physicians or pediatricians may be misled into making a diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, otherwise called ADHD, which is associated with poor educational performance in children, problems to families, and overall poor quality of life for both the children and those who need to take care of children with this disorder. So, apart from knowing your own numbers and the numbers of the men and women you love, it is also important that you know your children's numbers, including how many hours of quality sleep that your children get. Number 11, worry is the reason why people can't sleep. Yes, it stands to reason that if you are worried, it may be difficult to fall asleep and to stay asleep, but we need to be mindful so that we do not trivialize pathologies of sleep. What I mean is medical conditions or other conditions that may cause disturbances of sleep. Passing off not being able to sleep as being the result of worry may make us to miss the opportunities to help people who have genuine sleep disorders and who may be depending on us to support them to get help. Number 12, it is normal to snore when you sleep. Why do people snore? The airways behind the nose, mouth, and throat need to be open for air to pass freely through as we breathe in. So if that happens, you're not likely to snore when you sleep. However, if those airways behind the nose, throat, and mouth are narrowed for any reason, then as you breathe in, the air is turbulent and hits against the muscles at the back, at the upper airways, and that causes those muscles, those tissues rather, to vibrate. And that turbulence is what accounts for snoring. The likelihood of snoring increases with age for various reasons, and we know how problematic snoring can be, not only for the person who snores but also the person who has to put up with the snoring. It reduces the quality of sleep, it reduces the quality of life, and we need to be aware that there are simple things that we can do to reduce or stop snoring. For example, don't take alcohol or smoke before you go to bed. Don't self-medicate with sleeping medicines. And if you are used to sleeping lying on your back, you can try lying on your side to reduce the obstruction on the airway. Very importantly, if you are overweight, you need to lose weight. And then for children, regular snoring is a problem, is a red flag that needs to be dealt with, because it may be due to adenoids or tonsils. The important message here is that even if you eventually deal with that problem, there is a relationship between how long it takes you to remove that obstruction and enable those children breathe properly when they sleep, and the overall long-term outcomes in those children. The evidence is that the negative effects don't go away. So the sooner we are able to detect that this child is snoring more than 3 to 4 times a week, and we get them to have expert evaluation and the diagnosis is made and whatever is causing the snoring is corrected, the better for that child, so that they can grow normally and achieve their full potential. Having said all this should not be reason for anyone to go out overboard and then begin to binge on sleep, because Proverbs chapter 20 verse 13 says, "Do not love sleep, otherwise you will come to poverty." There is also a lot of scientific evidence about the harm of sleeping too much. I do not want to go into those controversies right now, but there is a lot of literature suggesting that the ill effects of sleeping too much can be just as bad as those of not sleeping adequately. So, thank you once again for watching this podcast. And if you're listening on radio, thank you for being a regular guest. Welcome if this is your first time viewing or watching. We got a lot of feedback after last week's episode, and we appreciate that very much. We'd also like you to share with friends and family. and hit the notification button when you go online so that you can stay updated on our latest videos. You will get more resources if you go to our website aituaje.com, aituaje.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Music. We value your participation, we value your feedback, and I look forward to our next engagement.
Live happy and healthy, my brother. Live happy and healthy, my sister.